Welcome to episode number 23 of Colorado TechCast.
Today, video, as far as it goes, is it's like watch YouTube, watch a video, and then go do something. And what we're able to do with iVX is get rid of the then go do something. We're able to present the transaction right in the video experience. So, of course, we don't lose traction there. Our organizational structure is called a tribe, and that's really based off of Seth Godin's concept of tribes that I believe in, which was to get rid of all these labels. You're an employee, you're a contractor, you're part-time, you're a vendor, you're this, and just say, look, we're a tribe, we have a mission, we have something I want you to be aligned behind. And we created this culture based on these values, and it really just started to attract people who said, I want that. I want to be a place that we really actually care about each other. We actually have these shared values. We have authenticity. We have openness. We share our financials with everybody. We don't have a hierarchical system. We have leadership. And it's pretty awesome. And to be honest with you, it's a secret sauce in recruiting.
Hey, everybody. Trapper here. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Colorado TechCast. Colorado TechCast is a weekly podcast where I interview CEOs and founders of Colorado-based technology startups. Join me each episode as I explore the Colorado technology community from the inside out. Today on Colorado TechCast, I'm joined by Jeff Swaim, CEO and founder of Influence Technologies. Jeff, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
So Jeff, tell me a little bit about your background, how you came to start Influence Technologies. What was your path before this?
Well, it's a great path. One of those curious ones where we start out thinking we're going to do one thing and end up doing something very different. I started in school in business and accounting and then learned about computers back in the 80s. And that was very intriguing to me. And I ended up getting my first real job out of Denver, working at a company called Quark, and learned the desktop publishing software and, all about Macs and some really, really cool stuff. And what was interesting about that is when I focused on business, I left as a complete computer guru, and I was exactly thrilled with and learned a lot about design and digital design. And my mentor in college was wanting to start a company, and he reached out to me and he said, Jeff, I want to start this company and I have this idea for a publishing business, and I think I can help solve student retention and create a course and this book. And at the end of the day, I said, well, that's amazing. I know a lot about digital publishing. And so I could help design that book on the computer, and we could do some cool things. And the quick version of that was that company became extremely successful. The book became the best-selling college textbook in North America. Today it's in its 14th edition and was picked up in China, won a bunch of awards, and we ended up selling the company in the 90s to Houghton Mifflin, who has since been acquired by a number of companies. And so that led to starting my own venture, which was a digital ad agency. I was always thrilled with marketing and all those different technologies and websites. And I ended up going on, because of the Houghton Mifflin acquisition, into education as my main field. And I immediately had access to a lot of high-profile colleges. And at one time, I was working for 6 of the 10 largest for-profit colleges in the country. In fact, in around 2001 and 2, University of Phoenix, which pretty much everybody I'm sure has heard of, I call them the Antichrist of education. They ended up being more of a marketing machine than an educational institution, but managing really over $300 million in lead generation portfolios for these schools. And University of Phoenix was the largest online spender in the world at the time. They were spending over $100 million in lead generation activity online. They were probably single-handedly responsible for the pop-ups, if you guys remember all those, and the need to suppress pop-up ads. But I got to look behind the curtain in doing those lead generation and portfolio spends. And the one defining moment in my career and life that led to today, and what we're doing is, I remember working for a college, which was DeVry University. They were spending close to $35 million in television ads, driving traffic to landing pages. And these landing pages were crappy. They were $1,200 landing pages, a picture, 300 words, and a form. And they were only getting, out of 100 kids they would drive to a landing page, prospects, only 4 were still interested in going to DeVry. And I felt like, God, that was such a disconnect of money and priority being spent, and that we could do such a better job with an experience of getting these people that were once interested in something to follow through and convert. So we set out, and at that time, I really felt like the tech world, the bandwidth, interactive multimedia, all the tools were there, but for some reason, we still had all these crappy websites, crappy landing pages, crappy emails, PowerPoint, and the content was not where it could be. So with Influence Technologies, I felt like we could build a much more powerful user experience. And in fact, today, what we've done is we've built a digital experience platform that's called iVX, which is an acronym for Interactive Video Experience. And that platform allows us to create and build these interactive experiences. It allows us to distribute those, and it allows us to track those at scale. And today, honestly, we believe that the entire next generation of content, digital content that we're going to see in the world is what we call experiences. And we have the engine to drive and create those. So it's been an interesting path. I thought I would be an accountant one day, and here I am heading up a tech company.
It's a really interesting story. How many people start off in accounting and end up as a CEO of a technology company? What is the driver for iVX now? Is it still like marketing based, or can it be used for like entertainment purposes?
Yeah, it's a great question. In fact, that's one of the things that's probably most exciting about what we've created, because, you know about all these platforms that are, in fact, this notion of a digital experience platform is fairly new. Gartner recently just created that classification. Before that, there were a lot of what you would know as marketing automation systems, the Salesforces and HubSpots and Marketos of the world. And all of those are trying to solve pretty sophisticated management of CRM data, advanced distribution, algorithms of let's send a text message and then send an email, et cetera. And with iVX, what we're doing is we're taking on what I call the 800-pound gorilla. It's content. And, we all know and have heard this concept that content is king, and we feel like if we can actually be the engine that's able to power this new generation of content, we're really going to have a huge upside. And so, iVX was initially driven a lot by marketing performance. I've come from that. That was the story I told you in education, which was just getting better lead acquisition, better lead conversion, CRM. You start to look at all these things along the business funnel, and iVX improves performance all along it, even including retention, including win-back, remining, all the activities we could do, which is awesome, onboarding. But if you look in entertainment and you start talking about interactive experiences, and of course it applies there. In fact, one of our neatest use cases that I feel like has a tremendous amount of future is this concept of virtual coaching. Because what iVX can deliver is responsive video, which means for the first time, instead of YouTube style or online video that we watch, linear end to end, I can now have an expert, a Tony Robbins, actually present content and ask the viewer a question, and based on the person's response, go down a path, and they might say money is the most important to them, and he goes on and talks to them about money and how that is important in his life, and ask them the questions that he would ask if he could meet with them. So if we can actually clone, a Tony Robbins to the point where the same stuff that he would think about or say and have responsive content, you have a really powerful business proposition. So a lot of what you're alluding to is that we're effectively creating almost video games for business and putting them in business application. And of course that, for obvious reasons, has a lot of traction and engagement and a lot of the things that we look for in business success.
So are you guys leveraging artificial intelligence to create this platform?
What we did was we built iVX to be a tech layer, and we did that strategically because one of the things I learned back in the day was that whoever our customers are going to have different legacy, technology bases, whether those are there CRMs, databases, different things, and we knew that was going to be hard to always sell something that is one more platform or one more technology. So it's a very light layer that actually works on top of these systems. So it's open API, just meaning lots of data in, lots of data out, and iVX is effectively this engine, again, that's powering this front-end experience. So AI for us is incredible in that what it really is intelligent data, and AI is attracting lots of investment, attracting lots of interest. AI is amazing, but what it's going to need ultimately is content expression. right? So if I reach a conclusion with AI that I should go on this trip, or I should take this remedy, right, in the health space, or I should buy this particular thing, IVX can pick up there, and we can become the content expression for AI engines underneath. And so we love AI. We thrive on it. We can interface with it, and we love big data. And then the other neat thing about it is that with IVX, think about what we're really doing is we want everybody to go into an experience. And that's compared to right now, they go to a landing page, or they go to a website, or they'll go when email people are sending out marketing emails, they're blasting out millions of emails, and I want them to blast out experiences so that when somebody goes into it, it's a hyper-personalized, interactive, emotional, transactional thing, right? And when we're mining that data of their time in this experience, of course, we're able to port that data back into the data warehouse, which is going to, in machine learning style, better inform the data and ultimately the AI. So it's a neat combination. We're loving that. And again, kind of the world's our oyster when you're talking about just content, because we can insert it pretty much into every business problem and business application that's out there.
So who do you guys typically sell to? Like, who's your typical customer?
So because IVX is really helps serve scale, and it's these, again, highly scalable, the ability to deliver these one-on-one, hyper-personalized experiences, and we're talking about most of the time video. Video is our richest medium. It's very, very powerful in terms of storytelling and compelling stuff, but video is more expensive. Our target market initially is enterprise customers. We had a lot of great connections early on when I started the company from some of my previous relationships. So we were able to get into, Starbucks was an early adopter, and they launched a really high-profile national program using IVX. And the concept there was they were going to go do a press release and announce this high-profile program. Their CEO was standing in Times Square ringing the bell and telling the nation that they were going to pay college tuition for any employee that wanted to get a degree. And the dilemma was, what do they want everybody to do? Call a call center? How are they going to handle the volume when they have 160,000 employees that are all going to be interested in something? And so they had heard about us, and the concept was that why don't we send them into an interactive video experience and actually hear from Howard Schultz, his vision of this program, and then talk to the North American head of operations about how it works, and then meet the president of Arizona State University and learn about the programs and do all this stuff at scale in a really powerful experience. And at the end, we had them set appointments with enrollment counselors, those who went through and were qualified and experienced. And so that was neat, and that led, of course, to adoption by Arizona State University has been a long-term client with us, and they saw how we could use interactive video and digital experiences to help really support their entire enrollment process and student retention. We have multiple use cases. We also have attracted customers like Microsoft and Ford and Chrysler and Camping World, insurance companies. And so it's really been really neat because, again, most of those people are interested in better performance. They mostly have scale issues, right? And they want, better results at a lower cost. And so for us, we're going to really continue to focus on this being an enterprise model. Our business is really considered what we call tech-enabled services. So we have a service component because IVX is not a SaaS or a platform as a service yet. It requires us to be involved to about a 20% degree and working with our clients and running these campaigns and experiences. But what that gives us is an edge, I believe, in looking at all the different models that we've seen in tech, even here in Colorado, is tech-enabled services is pretty powerful because it keeps us in relationship with these customers, and it lets us almost be like paid business development because we're there managing insights and analytics and look at this and oh my gosh, and giving them better ideas for ways they could leverage IVX throughout their other business units, and we get those introductions, and we're able to really help them in a new medium, honestly, that's hard for them to imagine all the different applications. And so in that model, we end up with high margin, high recurring revenue, but incredible retention. And, if I look at the challenges SaaS companies have, of course, it's all about churn. And the examples that I gave you, ASU, Starbucks, we have another training company, a Fortune 100 training company out of Australia that was an early adopter. I mean, these are all 4- and 5-year clients, and we're only 5 years old. And so it's pretty awesome to me to have the stickiness that we've been able to have. And I believe it's because of the tech-enabled services model.
Those are really important metrics that a lot of companies aim for, but I don't think they're able to achieve the results that you have through the IVX platform. So where does IVX sit in the application stack or in the technology stack?
It's based on .NET, but it's actually this complete stack of microservices. One of the things that was, I think, really beautiful in the way our CTO, Jason Wicker, been a long time both friend and wizard of all the tech that I've done in the last couple decades. We really believe a lot in open architecture, agile, and really not being this closed-end type of system. And so building this thing as a dozen connected microservices allows us to always be plugging in best of class. We're running 3 simultaneous databases. We have a really progressive scheduler, distributor. We have a concept of connected services, which is really incredible when we talk about experience. And, one of the things that, I want to highlight that's neat is we started out, and people will often talk about IVX as interactive video. And, we've had different people in that space in particular, Wrapped Media out of Boulder. They were a startup early on that was tackling the concept of interactive video. But we're really focused on the X, and the X is experience. And for us, when we look bigger than that, we had to bend, and I wanted to be able to bend video to our will. In other words, make it responsive, make it interaction, but it's only an ingredient in the overall experience delivery. So when I think about what I want to have happen as an experience, I want somebody, for example, to go to a funnel. I want the funnel to be this really powerful story. I want it to be interactive. I want it to be personal. I want them to see their car, their Ford, that the warranty is about to expire in the video. I want them to be saying you need to make an appointment with your dealer because there's a recall, right? And then I want them to get a text in 3 days after they went through the video that reminds them that it's maybe from an expert from the dealership about another, factoid that's going to drive their behavior. And then I want them to get an email 5 days later with a PDF of their tips. And so IVX is managing this complex definition of an experience or customer journey. And what's funny about it is today, 5 years later, we look back at some of these really powerful marketing performance, CRMs, and we've almost accidentally built those and that functionality all in pursuit of this concept of an interactive video content. And so IVX is incredibly robust. And, back to this tech stack, as you can imagine, when you're delivering video assets through multiple platforms, multiple operating systems, multiple devices, there are, dozens of codecs just for video alone that say on an iPhone do this, it does an autoplay on Chrome. And so the tech lift is so high to keep all this stuff working that it's really important that we do have this agile approach to what it is that we're doing. And I love the fact that if there's a new database that comes along that's faster and leaner and quicker, we can jerk out one that we have and put a new one in. And that's true of these connected services and things with like Zapier has brought together. Now we have hundreds of different connected services we can plug in. So it's pretty awesome in that regard. And like I said, we're sitting on basically a .NET stack and Amazon Web Services. So the cloud's giving us, of course, incredible scale there. And, it's pretty awesome because what we're finding out is that as we go out into the world, of course, we already have this platform built. And so when we look at competition or we look at companies that say, should we license this platform, it's such a tall lift and so daunting for them to say, oh, we could build that ourselves. Why don't we do that versus license it? Honestly, I think just staying on top of all the current technologies related to delivering this content is a service of itself that no one, seems willing and wanting to take on.
I've used marketing tools like ConvertKit or even some like MailChimp applications bundled with Zapier, as you mentioned, to do a small fraction of what IVX is capable of doing it. And I can only imagine the lift that your customers see when you can deliver that rich, hyper-personalized experience to the users when their competition is delivering static emails. Your name, comma, type emails. So I think that's a really impressive platform, and I can definitely see why the large players like Ford and Starbucks are coming to you guys asking for this.
Yeah. Well, what's neat about it, honestly, is that, again, I've been a digital marketer, and of course, I've been in the performance world. So we look at all the attributions of performance, and they're kind of no-brainer. Like, there's nothing that's rocket science about personalization, right? Or segmentation, the fact that, if we could segment our audience, by data, and we know that they're outdoor enthusiasts, right, versus urban enthusiasts, there's different things we can do to appeal. We also know that closing the gap in the funnel, for example, with transaction, right? Today, it's like video, as far as it goes, it's like watch YouTube, watch a video, and then go do something. And what we're able to do with iVX is get rid of the then go do something. We're able to present the transaction right in the video experience. So, of course, we don't lose traction there. And so if I look at this, and we have 6 features that iVX it really stands on that differentiates us from any of the platforms that are out there. Each of those 6 features is specifically a market performance enhancer. So what happens is iVX is what I call a force multiplier when we insert it in the business cycle, no matter where it is. If it's sales, it's a force multiplier. It helps sales conversion because, of course, it's just storytelling at scale, but it's personalized. It's all those things that it should be. If I'm talking about lead conversion, there's such a big business in generating a lead, we can follow up a lead with a video that is already personalized to what the person said they were interested in, and it can be in their inbox in seconds. That significantly improves conversion because normally call centers don't get back for hours, sometimes even days, right? Onboarding, that's another big area. You get customers, and I look at, we have dream customers that we want to go get. For me, like Amazon, I take and I look at, they proselytize customer experience. They're all about delivering a dream experience, and I get all these emails about Amazon Prime. I get them all about Alexa, and I have all this stuff, and I get all these tips, and they're all in these emails and all this stuff, and like, gosh, if I could have an iVX experience, it would already know how I use Alexa. It could be giving me these really easy-to-watch videos on tutoring me up so that it's really easy for me to be an expert at Alexa without having to absorb all this other, crazy stuff. And I could do it at scale. There could be millions of people that are all learning about Alexa, but they're learning about stuff they care about, not everything. It's not a blast all. So it's exciting in that regard, kind of like you're saying, and it's all around performance. And of course, that makes you a hero, to your clients. They all want better conversions. And even the example you brought with MailChimp in email. Again, we know all the email marketers, we know all the email techniques, and the truth is just putting a video in email will improve click rates up to 100%. And so you want to do that. It's like a duh to do that. And, of course, you have to invest in the video asset, but it's all about a click-through rate on email. Same with pay-per-click ads. Same with search. All this media that's being purchased on social media, I always ask them, what's on the other side of your click? And you're paying a lot of money for that click. Why not send them into an experience, right, instead of to a landing page or just to your website, which I call Barnes & Noble, because if you send them to a website, it's like, where do I even start? There's no story. There's no personalization. It's just like find your way around. So it's fun to be where we are, and in 5 years, we've spent our time, as this tech startup, we bootstrapped, and so it was all like we had to fund our own way. We had to prove, and I wanted to prove we could get clients, we could grow them, we could keep them, and we had to prove out these pricing models, and we had to prove out performance. And today we're at that point where we've done that. I've outgrown my bootstrapping capabilities. I've hit the market, looking for capital now, and our goal is to scale into these vertical industries by basically just taking the same content or the same engine and being able to go talk automotive to automotive, education to education, healthcare to healthcare, politics to politics, and we have a race now to get iVX embedded into as many of these vertical markets and as many different places along the funnel as we can. And really, that's our growth strategy. So it's exciting, but as a founder, it can be a challenge for a guy like me that I want to do it all. And I'm the vision guy, and I'm surrounded by the people that fortunately keep me grounded and say, let's focus, let's do a couple verticals first, and then we can expand. And so I have that to live with every day. But fortunately, we have an amazing tribe of people that really help keep me on track.
So you're the kind of guy that likes to eat the elephant in 2 bites, right? Instead of piece by piece?
Yeah, or dream up a new elephant. It's been interesting. I'm not a capital raising CEO. I'm not an accountant, CEO. I'm the guy that dreams all the different ways we could start using interactive video in the world, and I just want to go do that.
Take me back 5 years ago. Where were you when you decided to start Influence Technologies, and how did you grow from you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's interesting because I told you I had a digital agency, and this is the tale of really founders and all the pebbles and rocks and things that really mold your journey. Back in about 2001, I lost $1 million with my digital agency because the dot-com bomb hit and 9/11 hit, and I had 5 of my customers that filed bankruptcy. And it was a disaster, to be honest with you. It was the most horrible thing to do all this work and then have to be like, oh, sorry, you're not going to get paid, and have to lay off people and have to go through all that stuff. It just seemed unfair. And especially because it was big companies that had raised millions and millions of dollars, and you're just sort of at the bottom of their food chain. And so very quickly, I really wanted to reflect on what it is that I'm doing, and I realized my epiphany was like this dollars for hours stuff isn't cut it. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like it. I feel like we can bring more value to the world anyway. And so that's really what started my pivot. I sold my agency to a big fish here in town. I had to go under a non-compete for 3 years. I ended up doing about a 5-year stint, and it was really a good break from being a constantly on entrepreneur, especially as a bootstrapper. And it really let me think what it is that I really want to do next. And of course, my passion has always been in this sort of digital performance area. And so with iVX, it was really a natural expression of saying, I want to do a technology play. I think we can make a bigger difference in the world. I think we can scale revenue and have money and sources that are not dollars for hours anymore, obviously, and build, as you've seen and all of us know in the tech world, we're taking over the world. Look at the market and the Dow and the companies with the most valuable companies in the world. Apple just hit $1 trillion valuation. Facebook in no time went from non-existent to a top 10, valued company in the world, Google. So I'm really inspired by that and wanted to get on the tech train and out of the, creative digital train, and that made it really clear. And I knew that this concept behind iVX and this next generation of digital content was a big idea. For me, it was just, I would look at websites and landing pages and emails and PowerPoints and think, God, this could be so much cooler, right, just as a total user. And the technologies were all there. Just no one had been able to put it together, I think, into a box and a platform that could make it scalable, which of course is the key. So it was fun. It was a great lesson. I don't recommend to any tech founder out there to lose $1 million to get to that consumption or that decision, but it is one of those chapters that absolutely, causes you to think what it is you want to do next.
So how did you build the team to do this? Obviously, your passion is in marketing and automation and the end result. How did you recruit the developers to kind of build this?
Fantastic question. And, I want to go back to my genesis that I told you with the publishing company. So my mentor, that was life-changing for me because not only did he call and, say, I've got this publishing company and I think you'd be a great addition. He was almost eccentric, the human being. He also said, Jeff, I'm starting this human effectiveness experiment. And I was like, what is that? And he said, well, it's this, I believe in people so much that I want to invest half of our time in human effectiveness and the other half you can do your job. And so we went through this process as a company of being so focused on culture and what we called, values-based business. And we were doing crazy things. We were building 100-year plans for our lives. We were practicing authenticity. I mean, all the stuff that in a normal culture today, the backbiting and the politics and the ladder climbing and resumes and egos, completely out the door. And what I learned in that period of time was a full belief that the company and its success would be predicated on the culture. And so I created this concept of a being-based business, and I wanted to hire people that I loved to work with, that were really passionate about what they were doing. Actually hired people in my past that I didn't even really care what they did. If I came across cool people, I would hire them and then figure out what they would do. Our organizational structure is called a tribe, and that's really based off of Seth Godin's concept of tribes that I believe in, which was to get rid of all these labels. You're an employee, you're a contractor, you're part-time, you're a vendor, you're this, and just say, look, we're a tribe, we have a mission, we have something I want you to be aligned behind. And we created this culture based on these values, and it really just started to attract people who said, I want that, right? I want to be a place that we really actually care about each other. We actually have these shared values. We have authenticity. We have openness. We share our financials with everybody. We don't have a hierarchical system. We have leadership. And it's pretty awesome. And to be honest with you, it's a secret sauce in recruiting. So Jason Wicker, who's our Chief Technical Officer, has known me, and we've worked together for, over 20 years on that premise. Our operations director, Brian, has been a friend and worked for me for over 20 years, 30-year friends, all because we love coming to work and we love what we do. And we have people that are rock stars. I mean, everybody here has a passion about what they do, and those attract others. So as we do that in this business environment, as you guys know, in Colorado, we have to compete with the Googles and the Microsofts and the startup money and all the stuff that comes in and says, we can pay engineers whatever we have to pay. We can have these benefits that are over the top. And so you have to be able to be competitive, and you have to attract people that, yes, they care about money. We all do, and we all want great salaries. But, one of the first things I did was I took 30% of my stock in the company and I put it in a trust fund that we call Circle of Trust for all of our employees. And so every time someone earns $1 here, they're earning a share in the Circle of Trust. And so I have this really progressive, basically valuation sharing plan that an intern who worked for us 5 years ago, might have even been a crappy intern, but they made their, $10,000 over the summer. They're going to get a check someday. And when we exit, that could be a really big check, actually. And, so it just comes back to me to having a culture that, first of all, as a founder, it's the best advice I could give to any startup founder out there, which is that it is your people. You need to know that. And it is the culture that will get you through the hardest of times, the best of times, and the passion of people that are building something. You want to attract engineers. They want to build something, and they want something that, is going to make a difference, and their work transcends just pay. And so it's been easy for me because my life was changed in my 20s, working for a company that had this ridiculous focus, intensive focus on culture and values, and I've said I would never work anywhere else that doesn't have that, and created that from the beginning. So that's what we have. We call it our ways of wow. When we do our compensation and we do our evaluations of employees, 50% of your evaluation is your ways of wow. And how are you fun? We have everybody here evaluating if you're fun to work with, or if you're candid, or if you're contributing. Like, I want everybody here being a CEO. There's nothing that's out of bounds for anybody that has ideas and ways we can be successful. And so, people flourish in that kind of environment. And again, I believe if you want to be more profitable as a company, you should be investing in people and in your company culture. And that doesn't mean buy ping pong tables. I think a lot of Valley companies think it's all about beer kegs and ping pong tables, and it's not that stuff at all. It's really actually having a commitment to everybody's success and being in touch with that. So it's been fun, but I'll tell you, it's probably for us, when we go to grow and we go to hire, or we go to recruit, most of the people are friends of friends and referrals. We very seldom just run an ad and bring somebody in out of the blue. So we have a good network because of that.
That is extremely inspirational, Jeff. I mean, just your focus on the tribe, right? You're a company and you make money because that's required, but it goes deeper than just being a company, being an employee, right? Being a member of that tribe probably means a lot, definitely means a lot to people who are looking for more than just a paycheck, right? They want to feel rewarded and fulfilled when they go to work every day. So I think you've got it dialed into that really well.
Thank you. And, again, it comes from my personal experience of experiencing it. And most people don't. They're in a corporate environment. They're in a resume, an ego, a fight. They're actually in a competition with their coworkers. And, when you take that dynamic away and you really do, like I said, we share our financials with our employees. Every one of them. This isn't like, the management group, they know where we are. They know where we're headed. They know when we have our disasters. And we have a concept that I'll probably write a book someday, and I think the name of it's going to be called Payroll, because I remember we had these times as a bootstrapper where we're like, I don't know if we're going to meet payroll. It depends if we get that check, from Starbucks on time. And we were very transparent about that. And like I said, we had a joke we would call our payroll, because it was all just based on this faith that, we're doing the work. We know we have the business, but we may or may not, get paid on time. And, to me, again, it comes back to this transparency and this trust that you create because you have such an open environment. You didn't have people freaking out because they're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. And I heard this and I heard that. And the dynamic is just so different. Everybody is legitimately an owner. It's not this token, I have some stock options. It is absolutely everyone here is dialed into value creation and doing great work that they're proud of. And, who is anybody to hold back that? You want to unleash and foster that as a leader and get out of their way. And so, for me, that's what I do. And I think if I do that, our investors and our shareholders and everybody is just going to be that much more successful.
I think very few CEOs speak with the conviction and the genuine passion that you demonstrate for your people, right? So I'm sure people love coming to work every day and love working for you.
Well, thank you. I think they love coming to work most days. I think there's probably days they hate it, but, that's the human element that we get to deal with. But I can say that they get to do, as close to a place to be able to be themselves and to grow and be as big as they can be. And, I think that's awesome. And I think really every person that's working and living on our planet, I wish that for them. And hopefully our story can be a success story that helps get that across, to other businesses, and that we can get enough of a voice and a stage to convince other, not just tech companies, but all companies, that investing in their people and their culture is probably the biggest secret to the most profitable, fun, positive place they could have, and, everybody wins. So it's hard to beat that concept. We just need to continue to prove it.
I love the book title, Pray Roll. That's funny. I like that. Are there any of the books that you want to mention or that you would recommend to people, and then we can call those out if so? Or any tools, anything that you found useful that you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So I love a TED Talk that I think is amazing for all businesses, which is Start With Why. It's by Simon Sinek. You can Google it, and basically it does a number of things. One, it was inspirational to me because specifically what we're doing, Simon Sinek, he talks about why a company like Apple can be so much more regarded in their ability to develop product than, say, a Microsoft. And this concept of why there's millions of people will pre-order a phone and stand in line when a company that was known for just a computer comes out with a phone in the first place, or how they reinvent the music industry. And this Start With Why lecture has so much of a powerful emphasis on the concept of what is the mission, and you're starting there. So many companies start with their what they do and how they do it that they miss their why and they don't know it. One of the cases that he makes is he talks about how brain science today has proven that all trust, loyalty, and decision-making come from the feeling part of our brain, or our limbic brain. And with that insight, if that's true, and we're all in business, you want to make an emotional connection, a feeling connection. And that, again, is really a thesis for iVX. And the idea that content, to be king, is going to be emotional, it's going to be storytelling at scale, and it's creating this connection that really, to me, only video, only sound, motion, it's the video game concept can deliver. And so, but when you start to apply that to your business, and you start to apply that to your way of being and the way you market yourself and the way you tell your own story or your own product, you want to start with why. So highly recommend that. Another one I really, really love is membership economy. And membership economy is just talking about this transformation we're all experiencing with an Uber being able to come in out of the blue and completely disrupt the taxi industry, right? Airbnb comes in, completely disrupts hotel industry. And basically everything we're doing, even the cloud, and you look at Adobe Creative Cloud, is starting to become you need to treat your customers and be with them like they're members in your company. They're not just a purchaser of a product. And so if you start to look at these plans you're going to start to see from Apple, which is just you're a member of Apple, you're going to be able to just go get any new iPhone whenever it comes out. That's a natural expectation. You're not going to make a decision every time they come out with a new thing because you're just going to pay them whatever it is, $200 a year, and you're just always going to get every new phone there is. And membership economy drives home a mentality about the invaluable part of a customer relationship and treating them like they're a member and like a lifetime member, not this transaction. So that one's, super, super powerful. I also, of course, am a big fan of Simon Sinek, and Purple Cow has been a big one for me, Unleashing the Idea Virus. So anything that, he comes out with, of course, is amazing. But, that's pretty much it. I have lots of different sources for inspiration, but for startup people and tech people and those really trying to get their story out, those are a great place to start.
How can people find more information about Influence Technologies?
Well, first of all, I would just send you to our website, which is influence.tv. And, the only caveat I'll give to people is that our website, because we're in enterprise sales, there's a lot of stuff we do and things we have that we can't put out there publicly. We've strategically been flying under the radar. We don't rely on search or our website, but it does give you a good idea of the stuff we do. It's definitely a way to get a hold of us and to learn more about Influence.tv. We're going to be learning or doing a lot more now. We've just hit our growth stage. I am working on closing an additional round of capital, and so we will take a much more overt approach. So be looking for us in the Denver community and online in terms of getting our word out and doing much more PR, and digital presence. So I think all those things are useful, and I would encourage any of you tech founders and tech connectors, regardless, to look us up and invite us into your community. You're certainly welcome into ours, and I really appreciate everybody, including you guys, putting on this podcast to really help connect the community. I've been blown away by the talent and the resources we have in our own backyard, and we'll continue to help that grow every way we can.
The tech community in Colorado is amazing, so I'm sure you'll find plenty of interested participants. Jeff, I appreciate you coming on Colorado TechCast. It's really been my honor to talk to you and learn from you everything from, the concept of hyper-personalized experiences and why that's so much more compelling than just a static email, to your concept of a tribe and being based, where you're not just a person, you're part of a larger organism, so to speak. I also really appreciated all of the really great recommendations you had, everything from TED Talks to books to additional resources. So I appreciate you sharing all of your great knowledge with us today.
Well, it's my privilege as well, and really keep doing the work you're doing. It's very powerful.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Colorado TechCast. Visit our website at coloradotechcast.com for episode show notes with links to all the great resources we've talked about in this episode. While you're there, click the subscribe button in iTunes so you'll never miss a new episode. I'm Trapper Little, and I'll talk to you again on the next episode of Colorado TechCast.